It's a great question. So I like to break interviewing down into stages. I think it helps with preparation, and it also helps to alleviate a little bit of that anxiety, because if you go through it in pieces, it doesn't seem so big and it doesn't seem so daunting. So I'm going to go through before, during, and after an interview, and we'll start with before. For some reason, this is not letting me click through. There we go. Yeah. So before. So one really important thing that I recommend before you go to an interview is you want to make sure you're researching the company or organization that you're going to. And again, I can't see anybody raising their hands, but I'm sure all of you have been asked, what do you know about our company or our organization? Or what do you like about our company or organization when you've gone on an interview? And if you haven't gone on an interview, you're most likely going to get that question in some way, shape, or form. So to be able to answer that question confidently, we really recommend doing some research. Okay, so what you see here is a list of places to conduct that research. First and foremost, the best place you can go is the company website. This is going to be accurate, firsthand information about the organization or the company. Okay, you want to look for mission statements, values, vision. You want to look for company structure. You want to look for clients or other organizations that they work with. There could possibly be information on there about the staff at that company or organization. You may be able to find a little bit of information about the person that you're meeting with. And it's also going to, there may be some statistics on there, but it's going to give you a nice round picture of the company as a whole. And you can use that when going and answering some of your interview questions. Also, publications, so news sources are really great. Google. Here's the thing with Google. We all love it. We all use it. But you have to make sure that the source that your Google search is coming up with when you're clicking through Google, you want to make sure they're reputable sources. Okay, so please pay attention to that. The Better Business Bureau has great information. LinkedIn is a great resource as well. And then additionally, anybody you know who actually works at the company, they're going to be able to give you insight into the culture, into the daily routine, into all of the elements that you're not going to find on the company website, in a newspaper article, in a trade publication. And so that is also a really great way to get firsthand knowledge. Okay. Also, you want to practice interview questions. So I've put a few here, and I don't have a full list, but what I will do is when I send Sharon all of the materials to pass along to you all, I will send her a list of interview questions. You can also find them on our website, and at the end of this, I have the link to our website for career development. We've just redone it, and there's some very valuable information on there. If we have some time at the end, I'll show you a little bit about that website. But you want to make sure you're practicing some interview questions, and I put a few on here. What are your strengths and your weaknesses? For strengths, you want to pick 3. You don't have to elaborate. We just want to list them. And your weaknesses, you want to make sure that you're taking your weaknesses and spinning them to a positive. So for example, I like to use myself. I have a weakness I like to use as an example. So if it takes you longer to get a task or a project done because you want to make sure that everything is absolutely perfect, instead of saying I'm a perfectionist, instead of saying, let me mix that up a little bit. Instead of saying sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to get projects done, you can say, you know, I am a perfectionist and I want to make sure that every detail of the project is to the best of it, to the best it can be before I say, yep, I am 100% done with this project. So we've taking a little bit longer period of time to complete tasks and spun it to you are detail oriented and you want to make sure that everything is as perfect as can be before the project is completed. Okay, so again, I can't see you, but I'm hoping that if I were to ask this question, and I could, when I said, who thinks that being detail oriented and making sure that everything is as perfect as it can be before your project is done sounds a whole lot better than it takes me a little bit longer to complete tasks sometimes. I'm hoping you would all raise your hands. Some other questions on here. Again, what do you know about our company or organization? That's where your research is going to come in handy. Why should we hire you? When you're answering this question, you want to make sure that it's not just because I would do a really great job for you or because I'm passionate about what your organization does. You want to make sure that you can find some way to relate yourself to the job, to the company, and to the field that you're in. So you may have to get a little bit personal. I'm not telling you to pour your heart out, but we need to know something that's going to connect you and why this employer should hire you. What can you provide for them? Okay, where do you see yourself in 5 years? We want you to be, it may be 3 years, it may be 2 years, it may be a year, it may be 10 years. But what we want you to do is be honest, but also make sure that you're not mentioning that you're going to be leaving the company. Employers really want to hire people who are invested in their organization and that they can see having a long future there. Now, if you have plans to leave in a few years, if this company is a starting point for you, that's fine. A nice way to phrase it, where you're not saying, I'm going to leave after 2 years, is I see myself working my way up through the ranks of a company like this one because I would like to be in management one day. Okay, it's very general. It doesn't commit you to spending the rest of your career with the company, but it also is tailored enough so that you are not saying to them, once I get some experience under my belt from you guys, I'm out of here. Okay, and the most important question, I think, is do you have any questions for us? If you have questions for the company, feel free to ask. The only thing we want to do is stay away from questions of salary or benefits in your first interview. Okay, so make sure you're practicing your interview questions. Okay, we also want to prepare some stars. Now, think back to your last interview, the interview before, any interview that you've had, and has anybody ever said, tell me about a time when? If you've ever gotten that question, these are what I like to call situational interview questions. So they're asking you for a specific example of a time when something happened. So you can see here, and I have this as a worksheet that I'll send to Sharon for you all. A star is a way of structuring the responses to those situational interview questions. So there's 4 parts to it. The first is the S. Okay, that's the situation. This is background information about where you were and what you were doing. So the example I have here for you is I was part of a team of 6 software developers responsible for developing a new finance module for the accounting product. Okay. The second part is the T, that is the task. What was required and what was the goal you were working towards? Okay, so the completion of the project was scheduled to coincide with the launch of the new marketing campaign for the product. The A, which is part 3, is the action. What did you do to accomplish the task? What skills did you use? I volunteered to take the lead by using my technical analysis skills, spotted 3 small mistakes in initial code that were causing sporadic errors and slowing down the product. I also negotiated a small bonus incentive for the team, as well as dinner for 2 evenings a week so that we could work late to correct and complete the project. In the action, we want specifics about what you did, okay? Specific skills you used, whether they were technical or what we call transferable, so things that transfer from any field to any field. So this example is not only talking about coding issues, the technical skills, but talking about negotiation skills, which are transferable. Okay, so specifics in the action. And the R is your result. What was the outcome? What happened? Although we were 2% over budget, we delivered the software product on time with no code errors and better than target fault tolerance. Okay, so it's the result. What happened at the end of the project? All right, so this is going to give you all the pieces to answer those situational interview questions. What I recommend is sitting down with this worksheet and the list of questions that we'll provide for you and coming up with a few examples. And some of them you'll be able to use for more than one question. And some of them will be specific for very specific questions, but definitely prepare some of these prior to your interview and practice them. Okay.
I just want to say, this is Sharon. I just want to say that I'm on a bunch of search committees at the university. We ask this every single time. So definitely have this prepared, and we'll absolutely send you the worksheet because we ask this question for every interview.
Thank you, Sharon.
I'm just telling you.
There are not very many interviews that you all are going to go on where you're not going to encounter at least one of these questions where they are asking for a specific example.
Yep.
I promise you're going to get at least one, if not more than one. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to choose an appropriate outfit. Okay, so now I want to talk about this, and we have this broken down in interview attire for men and for women. We're going to throw out those titles there. We want you to wear what you are comfortable in that suits you and your personality. So I'm going to point to specific things on this. I'm going to point out specific things on this slide. Whether you are male or female or however you identify, you can wear whatever you're comfortable with. So ladies, or anyone who identifies that way, if you would like to wear a pantsuit, go for it. Gentlemen, if you are more comfortable in a dress, more power to you, go for it, okay? So what you really want to do though is make sure that if you are wearing a two-piece suit that you match. That's the most important part. You want to make sure that your bottom and your jacket match. Okay, so if you're wearing a navy blue, if you're wearing navy blue pants or skirt, you're wearing navy blue jacket, okay? You want to make sure that whatever you're wearing underneath your suit matches, okay? So you also want to make sure that if you are wearing a button-up shirt or a blouse, that it's ironed and that it's neat, okay? Collar is pressed, perhaps your cuffs are pressed, okay? Shoes, if you're wearing heels, we want to make sure that they're appropriate. We don't want club shoes, so we try to avoid 6-inch stilettos with a platform under the toe. Okay, play it a little more conservative. You can wear flats if you'd like. We want to stay away from sneakers, flip-flops, sandals, anything with holes in it. Same thing goes for your attire. No jeans, no t-shirts, no hoodies, again, nothing with holes, no ripped jeans, okay? Also, if you're wearing makeup or perfume, we want to play it a little bit more conservative. If you're wearing cologne or perfume, let's try to avoid that. We never know who's allergic. Jewelry, don't go overkill on the jewelry, anybody. Okay, limit your earrings, limit your necklaces, your bracelets, your rings, okay? Play it a little bit more conservative on your first round interview. We want your personality to come through. So if you are a person who loves to wear color, go for it. I own a coral suit. I love my coral suit. I've worn it to an interview because it's my personality. But I've paired with my coral suit a plain black or white shirt and very plain black shoes because I'm trying to offset that color. You can do that. If you're wearing a tie, I love telling a story. I had a student at one of my career services jobs prior to William Patterson who said to me, "Can I wear my Lucky Looney Tunes tie to my interview?" And I said to him, "I'm glad you're comfortable showing your personality, but I think for your first round interview, let's play it a little more conservative." And he did, but he really wanted to wear the tie. He wore a different color tie that was not as vibrant, didn't have a pattern to it. It was a solid color. So it helped to show his personality, but it wasn't as crazy and out there as his Looney Tunes tie, okay? Okay, so we've got our outfit. We've practiced our interview questions, a couple of other, so before I move on to creating elevator pitch, there's a couple of other things I want to mention that kind of tie into an outfit. You want to make sure that you yourself are clean, not just your clothes. Please take a shower, comb your hair, brush your teeth, put on deodorant. Okay. If you're wearing nail polish, please make sure that it's not chipped. If it is, you want to make sure you take it off before you go. Polish your shoes. Okay. So you want to look as professional as possible going into your interview. Unfortunately, the visual is the first impression that somebody is going to have of you. And we want to make sure that it is a good one. Okay. Okay. So we also want to create an elevator pitch. Do I have any questions to this point?
No, nothing right yet, but please, everyone can write them in. We're looking at it.
Okay. So you also want to create an elevator pitch. So think back to yourself when you go to an interview. How many of you have ever been asked, "Tell me a little bit about yourself"? I'm sure at least 80% of you, if not more. So if you've ever thought, well, how do I answer this? There's so much about me to tell. What do I include? So an elevator pitch is a way for you to craft an answer for that question that's approximately 60 seconds. So I'm going to pull up the worksheet here. I'm going to exit our PowerPoint. I'm going to pull up the worksheet. I'm going to start with page 1. So sorry, I got a lot of stuff going on my desktop. I apologize. I'm going to try to minimize a few things for you there. Okay, so here we go. The first piece of this is going to be about 10 seconds, and it's going to be your name and what you're currently doing. And you want to include education, when you've graduated. Okay, so the example I have here is my name is Carl James. This is for a current student. But let's adjust it a little bit. My name is Carl James, and I graduated from William Patterson in May of 2014 with a Bachelor of Arts in Criminology and Criminal Justice. Real short and sweet. If you have a minor, you can include it. If you have an area of expertise that you've been working in, you can include that. Now, if you've been out of school for a while and maybe you're uncomfortable putting graduation, you can go with, hi, my name is, and I have been working in the field of computer information technology for the last 15 years, and I specialize in. And you can mention your area of specialty. Okay, so it's very brief. It's your name and what you're currently doing. The second part is a bit longer. It's about 25 seconds, give or take, and it describes your experience. So if you are a recent grad, you could talk about internships, you can talk about things that you've belonged to on campus, work experience, whether related or not related. And if you've been in the field a while and you're looking for a new opportunity, you want to describe your experience related to the field that you are in. Okay, this has to be accomplishment focused. Okay, and you want to tailor those accomplishments towards the requirements for the position that you're interviewing for. Okay, so I've completed an internship with the New Jersey District Attorney's Office where I was able to apply the knowledge I learned in the classroom to real-world situations. While I was there, I gained experience working with prosecutors and judges, filing detailed reports, and researching case evidence. Through my previous work experience, I have also developed excellent communication, teamwork, and leadership skills by working as an assistant manager and group leader. So again, we've talked about given examples of specific technical skills, but also some of those transferable skills that really go from any field to any field and any job to any job. So those are things like leadership, teamwork, communication skills, the ability to work with supervisors. If you're in management, you can mention your management skills there. It's always a great idea. So this is going to be, this piece is solely about your different experiences and your accomplishments. The third part, I'm going to pull up the second page of this, is about 20 seconds. And this is what you're interested in doing and what types of work you're looking for. Okay, excuse me. Okay, I'm interested in a position with the New Jersey state government where I can utilize my knowledge of criminal justice and my experience to help enforce the law and protect the rights of those living in the state. So this is what you want to be doing, what you're interested in doing. Again, when you're interviewing for a position, you want to make sure that this is tailored a bit towards what you are interviewing for. Okay. You can also use this for networking. So this is not just for that, tell me about yourself. As a side, kind of on the side, you can use this for networking. And the only difference is that when you're using this for networking, you want to ask a question at the end. That way you're promoting two-way conversation and you're opening a dialogue. But when you're at an interview, we simply are focusing on parts 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so with this, what I recommend is putting it together, sitting down, thinking about it, using the worksheet, putting it together, and then practicing it, either with a friend, a family member. You can practice in the mirror, which is always a great idea if you don't have another person or if you're not comfortable with another person. Although I do recommend if you're going to practice interview questions, elevator pitch, anything, that you practice at least once with another person. Okay. Okay. So let's go back to our PowerPoint.
Jenny?
Yes.
I just have a few questions, if it's okay with everybody. I know you were showing on the star and in the elevator pitch a student who's going to be going on, but this person wants to know if you personally assist with alumni who have senior level experience, because she goes, being in the workforce for a long time, every time she looks for a new job, it seems the job search changes, and it seems harder to get a job at a senior level position.
So,
and then I just want to say I have an opposite. What if you lack experience and skills? So we have people on all ends of the spectrum on this webinar. So we have some people who really don't have any experience and some people with senior level experience. So
okay. So really quickly, in-person services in our office are for 1 year following graduation. So if you graduated in May of 2017, you can still schedule an appointment with our office to come in and speak to somebody in person. Unfortunately, because of the volume of students that we have and the fact that the university has about 10,000 students, we cannot offer that service to all of our alumni, unfortunately. We would love to be able to. Our office is not large enough to do so. If you have specific questions, you can send me an email and I can try to work with you via email. Sometimes for senior level management or senior level positions, we may need to take a look at your resume. There may be You may have too much information on it. You may have too little information on it. You may not be focusing on the right elements in your when you're writing what we call our bullet pointed accomplishment statements. We may need to focus on different skills and different accomplishments. In terms of your elevator pitch, again, depending on what you're applying for, you may need to tailor your pitch specifically for those opportunities in that piece number 2 where we're talking about accomplishments based on the job description. So there's for senior level positions, I would say definitely send me an email and we can take a look and see. For people who feel like they're lacking experience, what I would say is there's a couple of things that we can focus on. It's not always about having related experience. It's about having any type of experience, because a lot of the technical skills can be taught in a position, and it's the transferable skills that are hard to teach sometimes. Communication skills, the ability to work in groups or with others, the ability to work with upper level management, critical analysis and critical thinking, things like that. So we can find other ways to show that on your resume, even if it's not related work experience. And again, I would say if you're eligible to come into our office in person, I would say call us. Our phone number is going to be at the end of this PowerPoint. Call and schedule that appointment. If not, send me an email and we'll take a look and see what we can do.
Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome. Okay, so there's our elevator pitch we went through. So now we're going to get to during the interview. So this is probably the most nerve-wracking part of the interview, right? So a couple of things to keep in mind. You want to answer all the questions to the best of your ability. Again, I'm going to send Sharon a list of questions for you all to practice. Be honest in your answers. A couple of tips for when you go to answer those questions if you have difficulty is you can ask for the question to be repeated. You can ask for clarification on the question, or what you can do to buy yourselves a few seconds at the beginning is repeat the question back. So if the question is, tell me about a time when you worked well in a group, you can start your answer by saying, a time when I worked well in a group was, and you've bought yourself a few seconds to just get your mind around your answer that hopefully you've prepared using our STAR method. Okay, but you definitely want to make sure you're answering the questions to the best of your ability and you're answering them truthfully. When I do mock interviews with students, I see something that happens where somebody might say, well, I've never been in that situation before. It's okay if somebody asks you a situational interview question and you've never had that experience, and you can say, I've never had that experience. However, this is how I would handle it. So you can give the what if answer, and that's quite all right. Okay, you want to stay away from topics of salary and benefits unless your interviewer brings it up. When you're interviewing, it's what you can provide for the company, not what they're going to provide to you. We all want to get paid. We all want health insurance, benefits, perks. We all want it. It's great. Okay. But what you should be focusing on in a first round interview is what you can offer the company. What do they get from hiring you? Okay. Additionally, we're all addicted to our cell phones, or at least most of us. I know I am. And I check mine 1,700 times a day, every chance I get. When you go to an interview, you want to make sure that you're not focused on your device, your mobile device. You want to make sure that you're either turning it off or leaving it in the car. And if you have to have it on for some reason, make sure it's on vibrate, and be forthcoming with your interviewer about that. If you have a family member and they need to be able to reach you, when you go into your interview, you can say, I'm so sorry. I have a family member, my son, daughter, husband, mother, father, needs to be able to reach me. If it's okay with you, I'm going to leave my phone in my pocket on vibrate. You're being honest. That's all you can ask for. Okay? Okay. And you want to ask questions during the interview. Anything that you want to know about the position, you can ask. Anything about the company. Okay? I've given you a couple of examples here of questions to ask, because they're going to ask you at the end of the interview, do you have any questions for us? Or do you have any questions for me? And I've given you a couple. One is, what are your expectations of the person filling this position? Okay. What's a typical day like in this position? And the most important, or what I think is the most important, is may I have your business card? And the reason we want to ask for a business card, I'm going to get to this in a little bit, is we want to make sure that you're sending a thank you note and following up. Okay. Also, during your interview, you want to pay attention to your nonverbal communications. It's very important what comes out of your mouth during an interview, but what you may not know is it's also very important what's not being said. So we want to make sure you're sitting up straight, that you're maintaining eye contact about 80% of the time. We don't want to stare at people. It gets real, I'm going to be honest, it gets really creepy. Okay, how many of us have ever had that person who just stared at you and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this is so weird and so creepy, right? So about 80% of the time, when you're not maintaining eye contact, blinking, looking away for a second or two, looking down at your lap, okay? It's a very good way, but you want to make sure that you are keeping eye contact for about 80% of the time because it shows that you're interested in the conversation that you are having with the interviewer. If you are a fidgeter like I am a pen clicker. I click pens. So what I do is I sit with my fingertips under my thighs when I go to interviews, or I cross my hands in my lap. So that way I'm not fidgeting with my pen. Okay. You also want to make sure you smile. Okay. If you're having a bad day, it's okay. Everybody has bad days. You get stuck in traffic. Maybe something happened before you left the house. You had an issue the night before. You're arguing with a family member. It's okay. We all have that stuff going on in our lives. But when you walk into that interview, it needs to be all about that interview. And the easiest way to come across with a positive outlook is to smile. Okay. A couple of things to stay away from. Slouching. If you are slouching in your chair, if you are staring, if you're crossing your arms, if you're staring at the ceiling, it's going to be very off-putting to your interviewer. And it could give the impression that you're bored, that you don't really want to be there, that you're not interested. We don't want that to come across. If you start that interview and you go, you know what, in your head you're going, you know what, this is not the right opportunity for me. I'm really not interested. That's okay. It's happened. I went on an interview years ago, and halfway through I went, you know what, this person I'm interviewing with, I'm just not getting a good vibe. I know I'm not going to be happy here. I don't want this person to be my boss. But I went through the remainder of that interview with a smile on my face. I maintained eye contact. I sat up straight. I didn't ask any questions, but I was not a grouch. I didn't slouch in my chair. I didn't cross my arms. I didn't act like I was bored. I was respectful of the person that I was meeting with. And after the interview, I sent an email and I thanked the person, for the interviewer, for their time, and I let them know that at that time I was not interested in further pursuing the opportunity. Okay, so you want to make sure you're paying attention to those nonverbal cues and that nonverbal communication that you're having. Okay, so after an interview, okay, so once you leave the interview, you're not done. There's a couple of things that you need to do. One is, with that business card you've asked for, you need to send a thank you email. And we want it to be in the inbox of the person that you've met with within 24 to 48 hours after the interview. You want to thank the interviewer for their time, because they've taken time out of their day to meet with you. And you want to reiterate your interest in the position if you're still interested in the position. Okay, so what you want to do is reiterate the interest, maybe reference something from the interview. I know I may get this question because I've gotten it before, is can you take notes during the interview so you can go back and reference those when you're writing your thank you email? Yes, you can. What we don't want you to do is sit there and write pages and pages of notes. So you can take a little notebook with you if you're taking a portfolio and jot yourself a couple of words here and there, or a couple of quick sentences here and there. We don't want you to be engrossed in writing in that. So just a few things. And you want to make sure that you're writing it. Don't pull out your cell phone and type it into your notepad or into an email or a text message. You want to make a written note of that, okay? So you're sending that thank you email, okay? So if your interview is at 3 o'clock this afternoon, I really recommend by 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon that thank you email be there. And if not by 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, then definitely first thing that would be Thursday, first thing Thursday morning. If your interview is on Friday, as long as it's in the inbox first thing Monday morning, you're golden.
Jenny, someone wrote a question, and I actually just read something about this. What about a handwritten thank you note?
You can, but what I would recommend is sending a really quick email first and then sending a handwritten thank you. Because email is the communication tool of choice these days, if there's not an email thank you and the handwritten one isn't received until maybe 4 or 5, maybe even 7 days later.
Yeah.
Depending on the person you're sending it to, depending on the company, it may not, it'll always come across well.
Right.
But the person 2 days after would be like, I never received a thank you note from Jenny when I interviewed her. And they're going to remember that. So I would recommend, if you're going to send a handwritten thank you note, that you send a quick email within that 24 to 48 hours first.
Yeah. I just read an article about it where it said, send your email thank you and then follow it up with a handwritten one. That way you'll stand out and they'll remember you like 3 days later.
Absolutely. Now, if you live close by to where you interviewed and you can take a ride over the next day and drop off the handwritten one, I had somebody do that to me when I worked at another institution. One of the women I interviewed lived in the neighborhood, and she came over and delivered her handwritten thank you note the next day. You can do that. But if you're putting it in the mail, you definitely want to make sure that you're sending that email thank you first, and then you can send a handwritten thank you.
Okay. And can I ask another question someone asked? Yep. Would you expect a response to the thank you email?
You should not expect a response, but it's always nice when you get one.
Okay.
But you should not expect one. Some people will send you a response, but definitely don't expect it.
Okay. And another question.
Hang on a second. If you ask a question in your thank you, then the hope is that you're going to get a response back. But if you're emailing and saying thank you for your time, it was a pleasure speaking with you, I'm very interested in the position, I love learning X, Y, and Z about your company, then you should not expect it, no.
Okay. And one last thing about the email. Should a thank you email be to each individual if you're interviewed by multiple people or as a group?
If you have everybody's email, you should send them separately. If you only have the business card for one individual, so maybe you were scheduled to meet with Dr. X or Mr. X, and towards the end of the interview, Mr. X said, "Oh, I want to introduce you to Ms. A and Mr. B," and you sit and chat with them for 5 minutes, but you don't get a business card. When you send your thank you email to Mr. X, you should put a line in there that says, "Please extend my thanks to Ms. A and Mr. B for their time as well."
Okay.
So you definitely want to acknowledge everybody that you met with.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay. The second thing, after an interview, you also want to make sure you're contacting your references. Let them know you gave out their information. Provide them with an updated copy of your resume. That way, when they're called, they expect to get a call or they expect to get an email. And if the person who's calling for the reference inquires about something specific on your resume, they have that and they can reference it. Okay. Your references should be for recent grads. You can use faculty, advisors, people who oversaw any clubs and organizations. You should also and then you can also use managers or bosses from jobs. Anybody who's not a recent grad, you want to make sure you're using supervisors, managers, anybody who is above you, anyone who can speak to your skills, your work ethic, your professionalism. Okay. The last thing you want to do after your interview is you want to make sure you're following up. So after you send your thank you email and you contact your references, you're still not done. So now if an employer gave you a timeline of when they were going to fill the position, you want to adhere to that timeline. So if you left an interview and they said to you, "We're going to be making a decision within a week," you let the week go by, then you can send an email or give a call and follow up and say, "I'm still very interested in the opportunity. I'm wondering where you are in your hiring process." If they do not give you a time frame or a timeline, I recommend about 2 weeks after the interview. Send an email, give a call. "I'm still very interested in the opportunity. I'm wondering where you are in your hiring process. Is there any additional information you need from me?" Okay. You can do it by email or you can do it by phone.
Perfect.
Okay. Questions?
Yeah, there's more questions. Okay.
Absolutely. Questions.
This question is really good. Somebody wrote this. Can you bring a bottle of water? Is it okay to have a bottle of water with you when you go on an interview, just in case, your mouth gets dry or something?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Just make sure that you're taking small sips and you're not chugging the bottle.
Okay. Yeah, just I think it would be like something that would make someone feel a little more ease too, just in case they started coughing or something. Um, so, okay, another question is, I think you kind of addressed this, but this person doesn't always get all the group's names because there's always several people at once. And is it appropriate in your thank you email to say, "Dear Ms. X and team" or something like that?
Sure. You can write that. That's completely appropriate. Or you can address it to Ms. X, and you can put a sentence in that says, "Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me, and please extend my thanks to the rest of the group."
Right.
Or to the rest of your team. Absolutely.
Okay.
As long as you're acknowledging in some way, shape, or form everybody that you met with, that's the important part.
Okay. This is a different question. This person graduated 2 years ago, has been working jobs outside of their degree, and now wishes to find work in their field, and has been advised to mail their resume and cover letter for potential jobs. Should she apply online and also mail it, or is mailing still a thing?
You can mail it. Most people don't. I'll be really honest with you, because if they want to share it with somebody else, if there's a search committee, they're going to want to forward it by email. If it was somebody within the organization that recommended that they mail it as well, then yes. If it was just from some, no offense to whoever recommended that you do that, some random person, I would say stick with the email unless the job posting itself says, "Please mail resume and cover letter too."
What about if it's not to a job posting, but you have companies in your field that you're interested in? Is it possible to mail in resumes still to like HR in that case, or is that no longer done either?
You can, but if you can find an email address, that's probably better, like a general HR email address, or the name and email address for somebody who works in HR.
Okay.
The other thing is, if you have not been working if you have not been working in your field for a couple of years, and now you would like to either get back into working in your field or begin working in the field in which you hold a degree, I would say start possibly doing some volunteer work in that field and get a little bit of related experience on your resume. So just for example, if you have a degree in graphic design and maybe you've been working in sales and you'd like to get back into graphic design, start doing some freelance work. Even if it's unpaid, if it's for friends and family, start doing some freelance work, or some volunteer things. If you have, maybe there's a church or a synagogue or an elementary school in your area that needs some posters done or some promotional materials, volunteer to do it. But if you are working outside of the field in which your degree is in, I would say start trying to get a little bit of related experience, whether it's full-time, part-time, volunteer, freelance, to build up some related experience.
And that was exactly what this person's thing was. She said, I'm lacking experience in my field, and that's why she was wondering. But yeah, that's great advice, just to do something, like even if you're doing it for your family, let me design the Christmas card this year, anything.
Absolutely. Yep. Because there is a way to put that on your resume. There are ways that we can incorporate that into your resume, and if you have questions about doing that, you can email me and I'll answer those specifically. But there are ways to incorporate that, things such as designing the family holiday card or designing the promotional flyer for your kids' school play or something along those lines. We can talk about that individually.
And here's a similar question. This person is looking to get back into the workforce after a period of unemployment, but now lacks experience and references. So what's the best course of action? I think it's probably the same thing you were saying about volunteer work, and also, I think
some volunteer work. The other thing with that is you may want to look, and we see this a lot of times with people who have stayed home to take care of their kids, and now want to get back into the workforce. I'm not really a big fan of what's called a functional resume, but in cases like that, where you may have been doing a lot of things that would be valuable in the workplace, like organizational skills, managing schedules, taking care, working with different types of people who come to your house and fix things. A functional resume may work better for you because it focuses on skill sets instead of chronological employers. Again, send me an email, and we can certainly talk about that. But I would say if you've been out of the workforce for a little bit and you're looking to get back in, start doing some volunteer work, whether it's related to your field or not. Just the fact that you're getting back out there into some type of professional environment is going to be of benefit to you.
Right. Okay. This person wants to know the first attachment you had where you mentioned what is covered in all interviews. I don't know if you can go back in the PowerPoint.
Sure.
Okay, if you're aware of what that is.
What is covered in all interviews?
What? Maybe the interview questions.
I need a little bit more specific.
Maybe is this what you're looking for? Oh wait.
Whoever put that question, I would love to answer it if you could be a little bit more specific.
The stars. She wants to see the stars. There you go.
Oh, you know what? So here's the star, and I will send this worksheet again to Sharon, and she can send it to everybody who attended.
Everyone,
but
yeah.
It's right there for you. I don't think I can Zoom. I'm not quite sure how to do that. But I will send Sharon this worksheet so you all will get it.
Yeah, and another question is, would it be possible to receive a template of a functional resume? I'm thinking because it's something that's
I don't have one offhand. I can find you one. We typically don't, because we see mostly students here. Most of our students don't create functional resumes. I think I've been at William Patterson just about 20 months now, and I've had one student in the entire time that I've been here who I have recommended that to, and that particular student did not want to go that route with their resume. So I don't have one saved, but I can find one and get it to you. I'll find a good example of one and get it to you.
And could you just explain who would that be best for? You think someone who's like maybe been unemployed for a period of time, or someone who's been in the workforce like that?
Somebody who's been out of the workforce for a little bit of time, but maybe is managing a home or has done some other kind of more like non-traditional things, because it focuses on skill sets and it doesn't focus on a standard resume is a chronological resume, and we work backwards from your most recent experience, and we go back about 10 or 15 years depending on your field, depending on your experience and what's on there, and that is date based. If you have large gaps in your resume where you've taken 5 years off or 10 years off for various reasons, we could still do a chronological resume. We would just need to talk about ways to address those gaps when you go to an interview. Okay. If you're not comfortable with that, then a functional resume focuses on your skill sets. And what we do is we look at, when you're creating that, you look at the skills required for the types of positions that you're applying for, and you pick 3 that are your strongest. So it could be communication skills, it could be management, it could be whatever they are, and then your bullet pointed accomplishment statements speak to all of your experience with that skill set, not specifically to each of your positions.
Okay, well, right now there's no more questions. I'm just going to say we have about 4 minutes, so if you have any questions, get them in. But while we're here, I'm just going to tell everybody we will send you a PDF of this presentation. We do have the STARS worksheet. Jenny, I believe you have sent that to me. And
I'm going to send everything to you when we're done.
Yeah, so you'll all be receiving this STARS worksheet, the PDF. We did record this. It'll be on our YouTube channel. So you can also hear it and listen to it again. Okay, another question. This person just had to stay home due to having a child, which is absolutely, normal. If they ask, why do I have a gap in my resume, should I tell the truth?
Yes. We have many people, both male and female, who stay home to raise children. And that's a commonality. That's something that's very common. If you've been out of the workplace for, say, 10 years, and you haven't been working because you've been raising your kids, what we want to try to highlight in your resume is things that you may have been involved in, like the PTA, or if your kids play sports, being a parent participant in your kids' sports teams, things like that. And if you have specific questions, we can, again, email me. I'm going to put my email address up on the screen in a second. You can email me, and I can help you work through those specifics.
Okay, and another one, if you lost your job due to restructuring, do you tell the interviewer that as well? I would.
That you can, yes. I've actually I've experienced that myself, and it happens a lot. And all you would do is when you're asked, why did you leave this position? You can say my company restructured, and I lost my job.
Yeah, just to be honest, right?
Be honest.
And here's another one. This person's degree is in communications media production, but her last
Okay.
two jobs have been in a spa, hair salon, sales. But she has also done freelance work in editing videos. So should she exclude those other jobs, like the spa, hair salon jobs, from her resume and just put the freelance work?
No, but what you'll want to do is for your experience on your resume, make a category for related experience, and that's where you'll put all of your freelance work. That'll come first, and then you'll put additional experience, and that's where you'll put your salon jobs and focus on transferable skills for those: customer service, communication, teamwork, if you've trained other employees, leadership, critical thinking and problem solving, things like that. Anything that transfers from one job to the other.
Yeah. And here's another question. How do you respond if they ask if you have ever been fired and you have? It's mostly on online applications.
Um,
I have seen that.
yeah, it gets tricky because the term fired usually is a negative, and at least in my professional opinion, there's a difference between being laid off and being fired. If your company has downsized, if they've restructured, things like that, that's not being fired. You've been laid off. If you did something wrong, meaning you stole from your company or you had a severe issue with a client and management decided to terminate you, those are things that would constitute firing. So if you were fired for a negative reason, then yes, be truthful and answer truthfully. If you've been laid off because of restructuring, downsizing, something like that, then the answer is most likely no.
No, to don't respond?
You have not been fired. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think they ask that a lot on healthcare applications for hospitals and things like that.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Okay, just one more, but I'm not sure if I understand this. This person wants to ask for a comprehensive list of interview questions, including behavioral questions. Not sure if they mean behavior questions.
So behavioral questions are things that you're going to get at every interview, regardless of the field. That's going to include those situational interview questions. It's going to include things like, what are your strengths and your weaknesses? What do you know about our company? I'm going to send Sharon a list of those to send out to all of you. Those are the only types of questions that I have for you. I don't have technical questions based on your field.
Mm-hmm.
What I would recommend is, example, if you work in computer science and you're looking for a list of technical questions that might be asked, reach out to a faculty member here, whether you're a recent grad or you graduated 20 years ago. Reach out to the computer science department and ask them. Because we have so many majors and so many academic programs here at William Patterson, we don't have lists of technical questions. We have lists of those behavioral questions, and that's what I can send to Sharon to give to you all.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
It's a little after 1:30. I want to first of all thank you guys for waiting while Jenny was stuck outside with a fire drill. Thank you, Jenny, for running in. I know that means a lot. And thank you all for attending. We will be sending you lots of spreadsheets, things to work on for your interview. If you have any questions, you see here's Jenny's contact information. She's wonderful. If you have any questions, please email her. She will be happy to answer questions. She's great. And thank you.
So my email address is there for you. The bottom link is the link to our alumni page on our website. Please feel free to use whatever resources there are. Also, when you visit our website, there is Trailblazer on there. That is our online job search system for students and alum. You all have that for life. As long as we are around, you have that system, and you're welcome to utilize it. What you will need to do is submit a resume in Trailblazer. Once it's approved, somebody will contact you in terms of adjustments that might need to be made to that. And then they will approve that for you in the system once you've made some changes, if any need to be made. If you have questions about anything on the website, please feel free to reach out. I will just say this, if you're going to email me, I am going on vacation at the end of this week, so please be patient. I promise I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. But I ask that you give me a little bit of time to respond to your emails, but I promise I will get back to you. And I appreciate you all tuning in today, taking time out of your day. And I look forward to hearing from you all. And best of luck in your job searches and your interviews. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you another time.
Have a great day.